Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, welcome, good evening, greetings, and etc. How are you all doing? Hope everybody's doing well. So nice to be here again. How are you doing, Faye?
Hello, very nice, very well. Thanks. Very glad to be here again with you in the company of our friends.
It
Yes.
is.
Well, one more time to talk. No time
One
for
more.
good reflection. Yeah.
Yes. Very, as you anticipated, a super special topic today. Something that this time of the year is always top of mind, or for many people, is top of mind with is Jesus. So we're going to talk a little bit about him, and of course, trying to bring the lenses of mediumship into that conversation.
Yeah.
If you just stumbled upon us and you don't know what we're talking about, let me introduce Time to Talk to you. Oops, there you go. Here it is. This is Time to Talk. Time to Talk is a bi-weekly program every 2 weeks. We are here together, usually Faye and myself. Sometimes we have some super special guests. And the idea for this program is to just have an open conversation about about a topic related to mediumship. It's not meant to be a lecture. It's not meant to be a dump of information. The idea is to open up a chat. So we can have a conversation about it. You can bring your stories, questions, comments, notes, and we bring them live as well. We try to address them as best as we can. But the idea is to offer this open place where we can have this chat, this conversation. And today we are on episode 62. Just give me 1 second. I'm having a little bit of an issue while we speak. Oops, let me just do this. And then let me bring this one. Oops, where are my slides? Here. Where is it? Oops. Give me just 1 second. Ooh, this never happened before. There you go.
Well, it is a beautiful topic, and this is the most, I would say. Well, we've agreed it will be the most appropriate for this time of the year.
Indeed.
And it's one that's surrounded by all sorts of views and lenses. And yes,
there you go. We got there. We got there in the end. So yeah, we're talking about today's episode 62, and our topic today, as Faye was already bringing up, is mediumship with Jesus, which is so many questions come to mind when we say this sentence or this expression, mediumship with Jesus. Mean, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And we're going to try to touch that point. So if you have any ideas, questions, initial reactions to this theme, please drop your comments, your notes, your questions, and we're going to bring them up as we speak. Before we start, the usual announcements in terms of our broadcasters, I need to say thank you very much to SSL. SSL is the Spiritist Society of London. It's a study group here in the UK where we are pretty much dedicated to studying Spiritism. We have some online sessions, have face-to-face sessions. If you'd like to know more about it, please go check our pages. SSL is linked and associated to BUS, the British Union of Spiritist Societies. BUS works as as a federation, trying to bring together the different spiritist groups here in the UK, helping them exchange, share experiences, and bring an idea and a sense of unity to the spiritist movement here. Third one, Cardiac Radio. Cardiac Radio has been around for many years now, always committed to bringing content about spiritism in English to all of us. They have a lot of initiatives online. Go check their page as well. Go see what they're up to. They even have an app that you can download and keep up to date with everything they are releasing. Done. Mediumship with Jesus. Why are you talking about Jesus? Well, I think this time of the year is a time that many people are reminded, because of Christmas, are reminded of Jesus. Like without going into the details of, was Jesus born this time of the year? Was not. I think this is almost a pointless discussion, right? In the end, I think the symbolism and the intention around this date, I think that's what matters more than anything else. A moment for reflection, a moment for thinking about his example, his life, what kind of model he left for us, what kind of teachings he brought to us, and how is that influencing us, how much of it we want to implement in our lives, how much of it should be helping us drive our life. And that's why it's such a topical subject for us now.
Yes.
Right, Faye? Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. It's I thought that for people who may wonder, especially being in the UK, being in England, and wondering why is it that we call Christmas, and there are probably here other names for this period, like Yule. That would be the Yuletide. Well, the word Christmas, the name for us for this specific part of the year, which was a time when everyone would naturally be giving thanks to their God, and in that at that time to the figure of Jesus Christ. For the whole year, for the rest of the crop, for having harvested all the work that was done throughout the year. So they had the supplies to go through the winter and over. So it was a time to rest and to thank and to meditate, because that was what winter was pretty much for. And the word Christmas, from Christus, Christ, and mass for mass as a celebration, as prayers to Christ, prayers in a church usually, or not, but Christmas is the mass for Christ. That's what it is. So it's a time of prayer and reflection and gratitude on life beyond, and what the lessons learned and what lessons to be put to practice in the following year. So this is Christmas.
I didn't know that. So
yeah. So the word was coined was in the year. Well, you can see even in the Wikipedia will tell you. Around the year 1038 to 1131, which was a time around Victor the Lionheart, which happens to be a high spirit that leads a huge number of us, especially our generation. Yeah. Very
good. Thank you, Faye, for that. I actually didn't know that. Faye, when I was searching for this topic specifically, and then I just went in the search engine and typed in mediumship with Jesus, and it was it was fascinating to see the amount of articles, results, questions that came through, all questioning Jesus' position, involvement, teachings related to mediumship, related to mediums, and so on.
Yeah.
And from many different perspectives. I didn't, for many of them, I didn't click. I just saw like the results, like from a very high level perspective. But I think it's an interesting topic to think about. And a few questions that came through a few times were, why don't mediums bring messages or channel Jesus himself, or why is that not something that happens common, and so on? And one thing that I actually want to clarify is that the idea of tonight's topic was actually not to, like, we're not going to talk about, okay, mediums that channel Jesus, why do they do, why not, does it happen, is it true, that wasn't the intention. But I thought that was a very interesting result, that there was such a question out there in terms of like, why do mediums do not like channel Jesus or not? And I think that was an interesting, I think it's a good starting point for us before we go into what we actually mean by mediumship with Jesus. What do you think, Faye?
Well, I'm not saying it's impossible, because nothing is impossible. What there is there is a gradation, a degree of evolution, which allows contacts and refinement that will allow the medium, for example. If let's imagine if we had a very highly evolved, I can see some feedback. Is that too loud?
I cannot hear anything.
Well, I didn't. Well, okay. Even if we had a very highly evolved spirit incarnated and living as a medium with the mediumistic faculty, yeah, this spirit would have to be not only high evolved, but his body as an apparatus, as an instrument, would have to be highly refined and trained to withstand an impact such as anything, anywhere, I won't say close to Jesus' power, but anywhere near. It would be even physically very difficult. I'm not saying mediumistically, but physically it would be very difficult. Would that be possible? Well, yeah. If he wants to, if that's God's will, yes. But unlikely, because I believe the message is already there. What else could he say apart from the big lessons that he's left and can ever be put to practice?
Yeah.
So I question that, what would be the purpose? And second, who would be prepared to that level? Because it would be a great physical burden to do that.
I agree. I think when we talk about for many weeks, we talk about the effort that the medium needs to make to prepare to receive a message from a spirit as a be more enlightened. And imagine the amount of effort that a spirit who is more evolved and more enlightened needs to prepare to get in contact with the nature of the medium, not only being fully materialized, linked to a physical body, but also everything else that the medium generates in terms of energy around itself, with its thoughts, with its actions, with its ideas, and so on. So imagine then, for a perfect spirit, which is Jesus, somebody who is above anyone else in this planet, who would be in a level that he would be able to connect to transcendent communication. It's such a difficult such a difficult thing to understand, that a medium that studies and understands how things work and so on, if it receives, for example, a message from Jesus, I think that the only rational thought is to question that, because, oh, but wait a minute, it's...
Yeah. I would say I'm not even in this case. I'm being careful not to question whether that person, that medium, deserves it or not. That's I'm not judging who or who doesn't deserve that. But if we think about it in terms of pure physics, it's as if I wanted to record a hologram. Do you remember those Instamatic Kodak cameras?
Yeah.
The little one with the cartridge this big?
Yeah.
Let's try that to record and reproduce a hologram.
Yep.
It wouldn't work. Technically, it wouldn't work because the signals are far too different. One instrument is too inadequate yet. It cannot reach that level of refinement of the image signal. So I think the parallel that I would make to start off is that, is it possible? It is possible with work to not because of it. I want to be a saint on earth so that I can tap into and receive the images from the highest entities that there are, especially the highest entity of light, which is Jesus of Nazareth. Yeah. It would be a matter of refining that body, one's own body and soul and spirit, to the level that they would not offer any impediment for the signal, for the communication to happen. So no dirty as a noise, no noises in that communication. Yeah.
Look, this is again that the idea of tonight's theme was actually not to go in that one, but it's just that something that popped up quite a few times that I feel like maybe it's worth to have a look. The other interesting that Faye William mentioned, like very briefly, which is the higher entities. If you think about, Jesus is not working isolated, right? He has, imagine like the size of the organization that is working with him in terms of teams and groups and initiatives in different parts of the world, in different parts of the universe, in just through different ways, religions, groups, etc. And the messages, the guidance, the light is available. It doesn't necessarily need to come through him directly. They can come through the team, right? It can come through the groups that are available.
Yeah.
And I think an important element is, how much are we prepared to value the messages and the reflection and the guidance more than the name? Because in reality, that's what matters the most, right? It's just the actual impact that a message has, that the guidance or that the reflection upon how that is applicable to you, applicable to a specific situation in your life. That has the biggest value more than the signature, whose signs. We had like a whole episode talking about the identity of spirits and so on. And it isn't different because it's a higher, even higher spirit, right? But anyways, mediumship with Jesus. Now, actually, starting our topic. When I bring that to you, Faye, what do you think that topic entails?
Well, the principle that for as we see, as well as we in spiritualism see, as Jesus constitutes the utmost type of moral perfection that anyone, that humanity could aspire to be. If I'm going to guide my life as a medium, for example, inspired by Jesus, I'm going to strive to be a tiny bit better, as much as, to do my best to follow that model, to follow that pattern. And that's the pattern that perfection is non-judgmental, it's balanced, fair, and compassionate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting, because it's exactly the same thing I see. I remember having conversations with other people from different groups, and I remember one specific conversation when we were talking about mediumship and Jesus, and somebody came to me and said, "Look, but it is a very different topic if you say mediumship with Jesus, and if you say mediumship and Jesus." And I couldn't quite understand the subtlety that they meant in the end. And then, but over time, when we had more conversation, I studied a bit more, and I kind of understood. And I think the mediumship with Jesus is, as you said, Jesus is like the ultimate example in terms of how to behave, how to deal with our life from a moral perspective. He is the personification of being charitable. Again, we're talking here about the utmost definition of charity. I'm not talking about giving alms, talking about living to help others, no matter what that means. Being available, putting others before you, extending a helping hand, whatever that means. He's the utmost example for that. So when we talk about mediumship with Jesus, for me is bring that example that he gave us in every single aspect of life and apply that into mediumship. That is live charity. That is serve. There is the true spirit of serve to others, learn how to serve to others, always in a position of serve to others. And mediumship, from the mediumship perspective, it's not a matter of, oh, I'm involved with this work or that work, but it is in any aspect of your life, have that position before someone else. Because we are working our mediumship regardless if it's in a mediumistic meeting or not. Mediumship is just part of our senses, right? So if you're going to say something.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's no, it just occurred to me that I don't think that with all the examples and all the lessons that Jesus has told, and still does, because the lessons are alive, the words are alive, have always been. I don't think there was a request for anyone to try to go beyond their abilities, but to find in themselves their inner resources with which to do the best with what they got. So that was remember the talents that it's no use for me as me trying to be my best to do the impossible. And I want to be so charitable, so good, and so fair that I forget myself in the sense that I neglect myself. Because if I do that, the first thing that's going to happen in this material format is that my instruments to work will decay, will suffer. And I wouldn't be good to anyone if I were weaker than the people I'm trying to help.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that's taught when you say, well, you forget about your own needs. But Jesus never said forget about it. He says, love thyself as you love the others as you love thyself. Ourselves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So care to the others and care to oneself.
Yep.
Because as this format, which I happen to be as Faye, I am meant to be a temple to what this format holds. And if this temple is not well looked after, it's impeding the other part to work.
Yeah.
An astronaut could not do his work on the moon with a broken suit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So
Yeah.
I think that some of the other beauties is where does that perfection comes from? In the combination of respect from soul, spirit, and body, so that something can happen.
I like what you say, because it's there's a passage also we say that the true Christian, but not in the sense of Catholic Christian, but the true person who believes in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about religion here. Is identified, or you spot them, or you should spot them based on their commitment to try to improve themselves. And I love that concept, because it's telling you don't expect you to become perfect overnight, right? And we think about Jesus and him as an example. It's not that it's unlikely that we'll be able to reach his level now,
Mm-hmm.
but it's having that in mind and the attempt today to just be a bit different. And there will be moments where you will work out, or moments that will be better than moments that will not. And it is okay as long as you learn, as long as you try not to repeat that, as long as you look after yourself in sense, okay, maybe it's something that I need to work on me, so I'm better prepared, or I am stronger, or I accept in me a bit better, that will help me face that situation in a different way. I think that is mediumship with Jesus as well, which is the commitment of trying to improve yourself, but not revolting against yourself. And I think that's what you were alluding to as well.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Again, he used to Caesar's what Caesar's means. Do not neglect the commitments that to the law and the societies of men, because that's where you've chosen to be born into.
Yeah.
So, what's the purpose of reincarnating in a medium, in a society, in an environment that's going to be denied? And this is my point. I don't see any point in denying that as a means to achieve perfection, because it's all very well. I can say the best prayers in total isolation, and my prayers will be perfect. My focus, my concentration will be focused. Now, try to do the same when you have to commute every day, when you have to live with people of all walks of life and all difficulties and all traumas, and they bring their traumas to you, and they seek a word of friendship or just somebody to just listen. And you listen to the best stories and the most horrendous stories, the most heartwarming stories, and still keep balanced.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more complicated than it looks as well. Yep, I want you to be all that. Yes. He didn't isolate himself. He didn't isolate himself from the people of his time, from the places and environments, the conditions of his times. On the contrary, he was fully immersed to live and learn and to share whatever he felt he should share at the right time.
Yeah.
Knowing the right moment to do that.
Good. Faye, I have as I was researching some items, I found a text from André Luiz, and he brings a few examples that I want to bring us as well. I still have some friends online. I just want to say hello to them and say hi. If you're watching us, just drop a note where you're from, and just share with us when we talk about, when we bring to you mediumship with Jesus. What do you think that means? What comes to your mind? If you have to reflect upon that, what is it? What is mediumship with Jesus for you? What kind of questions come to your mind if that's it? Drop them in the comments box, and I'm going to bring them up so we can include them in our chat. Right. So André Luiz, there's a message from him in the book, The Spirit of Truth, chapter 5, and I'm not gonna read anything. I'm not gonna bring anything, but there's just a few elements that for me they summarize pretty well what it means that I was saying, which is to try to bring the example of Jesus from the perspective of you using your mediumship, right? And I already mentioned that the commitment with duty. So there is no, I guess I can say that there's no bigger indication of your commitment to your faith, to what you believe in, than duty, than putting yourself forward, so getting yourself involved and committed to work. Whatever that work is to you and however that work fits in for your life. But you are committed to something. You know that there's something bigger that you want to participate in, you want to do, that you want to put to work to help others, to help yourself. That is the duty. Again, duty is a word that comes from Jesus as his example. Is there somebody that can show a bigger commitment than the duty of helping others than Jesus? In every single opportunity that he had, he was there.
Yeah.
So this is the initial one. I think. Well, for me, duty is a good word.
Yeah.
The other one, let me just quickly take my notes. The other one is opportunity. Opportunity. Well, sorry. How mediumship means opportunity, right? Work, opportunity for work. We mentioned here how many different types of sessions, different uses that mediumship has, and it's not only in organized matters in terms of meetings that mediumship works, like, because mediumship affects us every day in our lives. So how well are we connected to the messages that we receive, or the feelings that we have during our hours, and so on? Because in the end, mediumship is there to be worked on and be taken seriously, but it's part of your senses in your everyday life. So there is an element there of work that is always inviting you to use it in a good way. What else? Sense of a team. I'm just trying to get my ideas here from the notes that I took. But you said something, Faye, that is spot on with these notes that I have here, which is not isolating yourself. The teamwork. I don't want to sound corporate here, but it's impossible to say the expression teamwork without sounding corporate. But we are social beings. There's no true progress if you are only working in isolation. There is an element of interaction that is necessary for us to evolve. Look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do your retreats or your moment of mindfulness or whatever that is. That's not what I mean. But in the end, our functioning as beings, as a society, as groups, it depends on this. And if you think about from a mediumistic perspective, we bring that to another level, right? Because it's not only the interactions that we have here incarnate, but there's also the link and the interactions that are present every day around us with the other side.
Precisely. Yeah, precisely. These are like if there's a time for everything, like the Psalms say, there is a time for everything. There is a time for isolation, for reflection, for growth. It's one sort and one level of training. But then there's a time for interaction and teamwork and group work, like you say. Because that is another type of learning. That is another time of another way to evolve into a different level of this work. And that doesn't mean to say that after that, the medium will be forever working in association with other people, because there might be new phases of isolation. Sometimes there are. There will be a new phase, more study, for more reflection of taking information on board, and that may take time. So that once all those tools are consolidated, then they'll be used to interact again. So there's a blend of things. There are phases.
Yep.
And I agree with you completely. So they're not to be denied. They're not to be denied a chance to work on one's own, and not to deny the opportunity and the time to learn, to interact, to listen more than speak, to talk when you have to.
Yeah.
And do your best without thinking, oh, I'm not good enough. If we don't try a little bit, we'll never be good enough. Because in this case, for mediumship, practice does make perfect.
Yeah. Two things that come into my mind is because your speech is perfect. One is something very, I think it fits very well what we're talking about, which is we were talking about like Jesus as a source and channeling him,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're talking about teamwork. One thing that comes to my mind is, for where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am there among them.
Yes.
No need to say anything else, right? When we were talking about the messages and channeling Jesus, right? But you were talking about doubt and not doubt, but like doubting yourself and so on, not thinking. And I think that is spot on, because doubting ourselves in this stage of our lives is natural.
Mm-hmm.
What we need to strengthen our understanding and faith on is that to not allow that to stop us from starting something, from going ahead and trying something, even with the doubt.
The doubt is a very important tool.
Yep.
I'm a bit skeptical and a bit worried of people who would say, I don't have any doubts. I say, oh dear. Because if I don't have any doubts, it means that I'm either got things absolutely spot on, or more likely I've crystallized mistakes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah? Mistakes set, become repetitive, and they crystallize like honey crystallizes, like things crystallize. And if it crystallizes, it means it's not moving forward.
Yeah.
It's not flexible. It's not malleable.
Yeah, absolutely. Christine just sent us a message here, which is pretty much spot on, right? Doubting ourselves is way too easy, but it's always there. It's present with most of the things that we will face in our lives. I think the important thing for us is to identify it and not letting it incarcerate us, stop us, make us stick to a point that we don't go further. Yeah,
of course, and we need to be honest enough to see if I doubt, and I'll put myself here in this as an example. If I doubt myself because I'm really not sure, because I want to be better, but I'm really not sure, or I say that I doubt myself because I'm expecting reassurance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps a little bit of confetti.
Yeah.
A little bit of being overpraised, perhaps. So there is, in this path with Jesus, what he told us to be aware of ourselves, to be honest with ourselves, and not be afraid of telling. Of course, we're not going to talk openly to just about everyone, because this is not real. This is not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to open our hearts. We're going to talk to people that we trust, because there is a bond. We need bonds of trust anywhere, in any aspect of life.
Yep.
So, assuming that we have a bond of trust, then if I feel honestly, I'm not sure about this attitude of this resource, I'm going to ask you, Rafael, and I'm going to expect that you will be honest enough to guide me and to say, perhaps why don't you try this or that, or maybe you can say, oh, no, that's fine. So don't worry. So some reassurance is okay. It's fine. It's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that's coming to my mind here in terms of like Jesus' example and how bring that to mediumship is patience. I think Jesus is also the ultimate example for patience. And two elements, I think, applicable when you're talking about mediumship, which is the patience with yourself, ability to understand, look, your imperfections, your shortcomings, and so on, and be patient with yourself, accepting them, and putting a plan to change a little bit, a little bit better every day, but understanding how things work. Patience with others, of course. And if you think about mediumship and the developing work that is in a group, or even with specific spiritual worker, patience, right? The ability to respect and understand limitations when things go not exactly as planned. The ability to forgive specific mistakes or issues that might happen here and there. Be patient with others as you would like them to be patient with you when something goes in a different direction.
Yeah. At a deeper level, even to be willing to understand where that comes from. What you're saying brings me to mind an image of a teacher, a professor. I've probably, forgive me if I think I've mentioned this before, but I think it's pertinent. It's the one that he would ask. One of the first lessons to his medical students was to get a piece of string and start to tie knots, one knot over the other and the other, until very little of each end was left because of so many knots, over and over and over and over. When he got that bundle of knots, he says, now your task is going to untie all the knots. And people looked at them, and they would try 1 and 2 and 3, and then things got more complicated. And he said, no, your task is to untie the whole string untied, unknotted. Because if you don't have the patience to unknot all these tasks, how do you expect to talk to people? And moreover, how do you expect to be surgeons if you're not patient enough to see how things are done and how they are, so that you know how they can be undone? And I love this. That example stood with me for forever. Because I think that was one way of this, what you've just said, which is a lesson from Jesus of patience, commitment.
I think one thing that's important just to bring here that is that patience doesn't mean leaving things to drift as they want, right? It's not removing the intention from wanting to do something, wanting to improve something, wanting to help someone. It's not removing that, because that is what drives us forward, and it should be what's driving us towards developing a mediumship or getting involved in specific work or trying to improve a specific aspect of ourselves. So it's not giving up on that, but it is understanding that it might be a bit harder than anticipated, it might take a bit longer, but it's not leaving it be necessarily.
No, it's to achieve the purpose, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's to stick to the commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, Jesus comes to mind when we talk about patience. If you think about, he knew, for example, like when he knew that he would be betrayed and so on. He knew about that, not only by one, by many of them, they would deny him and betray him and so on. It didn't stop him from his work and what he needed to do and the places he needed to be and the lessons that he needed to give. So it's, even though he knew about the others and the shortcomings that others around him would have, he was patient enough to be there for them, commit to the work, the duty, go back to the first one, that he had, the work that he had, forgiving people's imperfections, but still moving forward towards your direction, the direction that you want to go and that you need to, and you had committed to. I think that's something that actually relates, translates into another element, which is moral courage. What do I mean by moral courage? Is being strong in your convictions, your commitments, that you know what you want, you know that it's coming from the right place, you know that is right, even if it generates discomfort for others, questioning in others, misalignments that maybe you didn't want to generate, but you are comfortable because you know that, you know, doing what's right, even if it's not seen so by this and that group that might be part of it already. And I think that there is again, I cannot think about a better example than Jesus, than the example I just gave, actually, that the trust in what is right, that you're in the right path. I think that comes with all of these other elements, aspects that we already kind of mentioned today. Is that how you see moral courage as well, Faye?
Yeah, yes, I think so. Because then in that sense you are prepared to observe and find out and learn the pace at which things happen, at which people react, at which people learn, at which people feel ready to move on, to move one little step. And when I think of the mediumistic work, if we are in a mediumistic session, we all know why we're there. We all know if it's a rescue service, for example, we all know why we're there. So our purpose is to offer a possibility and to find a possibility to rescue. Of course, nobody can be rescued if they don't want to.
Yeah.
So the first step is to see and find out whether that person, that spirit, is ready, is in the understanding of what's going on. If you can take the explanation, you can take the approach, and how far, how much of that approach will be used. It can be quite tricky just to be patient. It's not losing our aim at all, but considering all the possibilities of that interaction so that we can lead someone to a positive outcome for them. Because it's going to be positive for us anyway. But we're not the aim, they are the aim.
Yeah.
Their well-being, getting people from a state of suffering, of confusion, of despair.
Yeah.
That's the aim. But how we do that? Very patiently.
Yeah. Faye, we are reaching the time for our session today, and I separated a little passage here to conclude to us. I guess for me, what in the end it boils down to, in terms of Jesus' teachings for mediumship with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a passage, it's Matthew chapter 10, item 8, I believe that's how you read it. And it's very inviting. There's no misinterpreting and misunderstanding this passage, which says, heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, drive out demons. Freely you have received, freely you give. I think for me, there's a directedness, objectiveness in this passage that you can just copy and paste and observe Jesus as an example from a mediumistic perspective, and how to be a medium and how to use your abilities, let's say, which is in the end comes to put it to work. And always be in a position of always trying to help others. Again, of course, not compromising your own health and etc. But I think that for me, that's one of the things that summarizes the best. That's what I wanted to bring as a wrap up. Anything from you, Faye, before we close?
No, I can only, corroborate everything you've said, and I can only express my gratitude, for being here with you, for us to be here, and to be able to reflect and talk about what for me is the highest entity of light of all realms ever to incarnate on earth, and who was, is, and I believe will be forever our brightest light, and guidance.
Absolutely.
In years and millennia to come.
Ditto, Faye. With that, let me quickly go through our announcements before we close. Some usual announcements, some new ones. We have our Andrea Luiz studies sessions happening now on Mondays. Faye's helping us out. Thanks, Faye. So we started to read the messengers again on Mondays at 7 p.m. Have the details for the meetings here. If you'd like to join us, feel free. Every Wednesday, we have Spiritual Light. Different topics every week, different guests every week. So stay tuned in. If you follow Bus and Kardec Radio, you see that we have that on every Wednesday. Then now we have a new series starting in 2024. In the last few years, dedicated a year of studying Leon Denis first, then Gabriel Delan, and in 2024 we are running a similar series, but now dedicated to Camille Flammarion. So we starting on the first Sunday of January with Charles, 7 p.m. UK time. Tune in to all of these broadcasts they're sponsored by, so you can see what is coming. And the last one is every Saturday we have our Medium's book study group. If you'd like to join us, here are the details as well. Feel free to come in and join the group. That's it. Once again, it's been a pleasure, a great year, great topic to finish the year,
Yes.
great year to share with you, Faye. It's been a privilege to be here with you, especially talking about such a special topic today to conclude our year. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Same, likewise. It's been wonderful to be here with you and all our friends. And I wish you and everyone the happiest, merriest Christmas ever. Okay.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you,
And
Faye.
possibly Happy New Year too, because we're meeting again in January, aren't we? So Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.